Good morning, brethren. I have a lot in my spirit for you, but I have no direction as to how to present it to you. So I'm going to start just talking to you. And I'd like to start with the political situation. And I understand that one of our brethren, that June, has a comment on the political situation. So we'll make this an open session unless the Lord breaks in, because I really do have some deep revelation for you if He brings it out of me. So if you see the Lord breaking through, we're going to have to stop whatever else we're doing. But we'll start with the current political landscape. June, what do you have to say?
I just was thrilled because I just was so panicky about the whole situation that happened with the candidates and the Florida.
What situation? What situation?
The Florida.
The primary.
The candidates that were going to bring out the winners in Florida and Ohio, and it was so exciting, to see, how it was going about, and I didn't quite get it until really the end of it, and I found out that I couldn't believe that Trump was leading, and I still don't understand how they calculate the whole thing. But then at the end I saw he's in front, and I was so excited. I was just rooting for him,
Yes.
because I know he's going to have a hard time with all that's coming against him. And
He's already having a hard time.
It's horrible that they don't support him and just give him the lift that he needs. And the other candidates, they're just thinking about themselves and their position, and not the country's position. And I felt that although Rubio, he was, I think, in the same sense, he figured he was going to win, and but he did at the very end conceded, which I give him a lot of credit for doing that, and he had a wonderful speech. He gave God the glory, and I felt that was really nice, really spiritual, so. But I'm just happy. I'm just happy the way it's going, and I just see the people that they seem to hate him. They seem to hate him, and a lot of venom is coming out on these comments with different people. That they want to break out that riot that they had, which was none of his fault. In Chicago, and that irritated me because he couldn't speak. He had no freedom, no freedom to speak in this country, which wasn't right of that group, and instigated by a lot of outsiders, So. But I'm just happy for everything that was going on and what's coming about. I guess that's all I have to say.
Something very exciting is happening in the country. Everybody agrees that nothing like this has ever happened in our lifetimes, and possibly has never happened in the country before. My personal opinion is that God, through Donald Trump, is bringing judgment on the Republican Party, and I don't think they will. However this turns out, they will never be the same. And He's bringing judgment on the Republican Party before the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party is completely given over to evil. They don't even acknowledge God in their last convention, or 2 conventions ago. They won't even name God, so their Lord's finished with that. What does that mean? That means they're subject to the sowing and reaping judgment. Okay. But the Republicans, a lot of them are Christians, or say that they're Christians. And they're supposed to be the righteous party, and they're just as bad as the Democrats. They're corrupted. They're progressives. They're citizens of the world instead of citizens of this country. But more than that, they think that they own the political landscape. They think that they are the rulers of the country, and they can do whatever they want despite what the people want. So the political system in the country has been completely corrupted, and that we now have an aristocracy. We have an illusion of democracy because we hold these elections But look at what is happening today in the Republican primary, okay? The illusion of the people having power through the vote is being tested, and Republican elites are standing up, and one of them has actually gone on the record and said, the people do not choose the candidate, we choose the candidate. So the Republican Party has a rules committee. This was a long-established politician who's on the rules committee that says we pick the candidate, and if we don't want Trump, he's not going to be the candidate. So what are all these elections all about? So they're being completely exposed, and they will never be the same. So when they're tested, they're under a severe test. The Republican Party, the bigwigs in the Republican Party, will see how far they will go to deny the people's choice. We'll see how far they will go. I am hoping, and I actually feel in my spirit, that they will rally around Trump at the end, because they know if they refuse to vote for him, or if they go third party, that Hillary will win. So that they're under a big test. We're going to see how far they'll go, and each man is being tested. God's looking at every one of them. A lot of them call themselves Christians. As far as I know, all the atheists are in the Democratic Party. I could be mistaken, but I don't think there are any atheists in the Republican Party. So every one of them is about to have to answer to God. And many of them, the highest ones, the ones that have the highest positions, are already showing themselves to be liars and phonies and cheaters and lawbreakers, because the law of this country is the Constitution. So they're lawbreakers, and they're despisers of the people that love God. So this is what's happening. Is very exciting. I hope that if you haven't seen it yourself, that I can open your eyes to it, because it is very exciting what is going on. Okay. And there are many more things than what I just described to you. It's multifaceted judgment. Okay? God's vehicle of judgment is Donald Trump. We have a lot of noise out there. Okay, I'll go continue. So they're really showing their true colors. The members of the media are showing their true colors. Just he's right behind me. I can't raise my voice any longer. Can you hear me even though I'm talking like this? You can still hear me. The media is being tried. Some of the media are fair to Donald, and no one can ask more of them than that, to be fair, but some of the media have an agenda, and they really hate him. I heard one interview that Donald gave. He was, I think, a little incredulous, and this man's been around the block a lot. He's been around the block. He's a multi-billionaire that's worked with the unions and with tough people and all that. So God's vehicle of judgment is Donald Trump. And for those of you who are still questioning, I remind you that God used Nebuchadnezzar. God uses all kinds of people to bring judgment. And I'm suggesting to you that Donald Trump is God's vehicle of judgment on the political system in this country today. And not only the political system, but the people. By your choice. Now, when I say your choice, that doesn't mean I want you to agree with me. Rather, I never want you to agree with me just because it's me saying it, unless you really don't know. And then if you want to, you can say, well, I'm going to agree with Sheila because I really don't know or I'm not sure. So I'm going to line up with Sheila until the Lord speaks to me. To the contrary, you could do that. But you're not supposed to be believing me just because, and not do the work yourself. You have to do the work yourself as best as you can. So, it's distracting me. Oh, no, I must be trying to So Donald Trump, in my opinion, is God's vehicle of judgment upon the whole, not only the country, the whole world. I think Australia, the president of Australia spoke out and said a Trump presidency would be disastrous. A disaster for Australia.
Oh my God.
So the whole world is in an uproar. Well, it's the whole world, basically the European world is in an uproar because largely the European world is the residue of Israel, and many of the inhabitants of the European part of the world are the residue of the tribes of Israel. So, and we are the first world, the first, we're built up industry-wise, and we have all the money, and we're supposed to be, I should have put this first, we're supposed to be the Christian nations that have evangelized Europe and China, and, evangelized Africa and China, and Indonesia, Britain tried to evangelize India with only a little success. So the structure that publishes the Word of God began here in the European nations and largely in the United States. So it's Israel, we are Israel that's under judgment today. Every individual person, you all need to understand that who you align yourself with reveals who you are. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to be right the first time. As long as you are open to God and you truly want His understanding and you're willing to change if it turns out that you're wrong. And if you disagree with me, you really need to pray very seriously because, I could be wrong, but it's much more likely that you're wrong than I am. And this should not be an ego game of who's right, you or me. That should never happen. But I'm here to direct you, to guide you as to how to find where God is appearing, because He doesn't come dressed up in a religious outfit saying, I am Jesus. We have to learn to recognize Him, and we've been talking about that a lot, about how to recognize Him. So, how do we recognize Him? Number one, the one who's being persecuted from all sides is Christ. The Lord told me that more than 20 years ago. You want to know where Christ is? Look at the one who's being crucified. And I don't think there's any question about that today. And secondarily, judgment is falling all around Him. Wherever He goes, judgment is falling. And he said Himself that everyone that came against Him, they lost all of their following, or large parts of their following, and fell out of the race. I heard, I listened to all these political programs, so I don't know where I heard it. I think it was somewhere on YouTube. But even on YouTube, I don't listen to just anybody on YouTube. I try to listen to the ones that I consider to be responsible. I listen to Alex Jones, and then he has people working under him. And I listen to Michael Savage, and I still listen to Rush, and I go into Breitbart News, which you have to read that, But this was a video. It was probably on the Alex Jones channel, and they were saying that the night it did Ted Cruz, I don't remember which offense it was that he committed, but the next day he lost 100,000 Twitter followers. 100,000 Twitter followers. Just, I don't know what the word is. In Facebook it would be unfriended him. I don't know if this is stop following him. So I believe that great evil has been revealed in Ted Cruz. I'm telling you, my ego's not in this. I'm God's man. God's my man, okay? And I'm looking for righteousness on people, and I was neutral at the beginning. I was neutral. I just thought that Trump would do a better job, but I was neutral to all of them. Ted Cruz is the biggest liar and manifest the most evil nature of any politician that I've been able to recognize. Maybe there are others that are just as bad, but my jaw just drops when I hear what comes out of that man's mouth, how he's so, and his witchcraft, it's all witchcraft, that he so completely mischaracterizes Donald Trump that you would never believe that he was talking about the man. You hear Donald Trump, so I've been listening to almost every speech that Donald Trump made. I've heard almost every speech that he's made, okay? And he doesn't say that many unique things. He repeats himself over and over again. So I have some knowledge of Donald Trump, and I hear Ted Cruz say things about him, and I'm looking at the TV screen or the computer. What is this man talking about? What is he talking about? And that's what Donald says. That he says all these lies about him. You know? And I don't get involved in writing to people because I'm just so busy. I just, sometimes there are things I'd really like to say to a commentator, but I just let it go. But I was so disappointed in Rush Limbaugh that I sent him an email. And I told him that I've been watching him for years, and that I'm very, very disappointed to hear him justify Ted Cruz's lying. And I heard Rush say it a couple of times, well, Cruz, no, he's not a liar. Yes, Rush, he is a liar. I have heard him lie time and time again about Donald Trump, and he's phony. He's a phony man who runs his campaign rooted in witchcraft. He came out to see his followers, to speak to his followers after this past Super Tuesday, in which he won nothing. There were I think it was I think there was six primaries. Maybe it was just 5. It was. I don't want to leave it out. I think it was 5. And Ted Cruz won nothing. Okay, he won none of them, and he walks out to see his followers, and he says to them, "We had a good night," and you can hear everybody silent, and then look at his face. I looked at his face, and he looked at everybody like, in other words, you better agree with me, we had a good night. Well, that's just plain dishonesty, lying, witchcraft, and what you're supposed to do is make a concession speech. You're supposed to come out and say, well, I fought a good fight, and congratulations to Donald Trump, who won 4 out of 5 states, and the only state that he lost was Ohio, because that was, they elected their governor, John Kasich, and Trump said that if he just had 2 more days, he probably could have taken Ohio, if he had just time to go see other people there, because I don't know how any educated when I mean educated, I mean people that know what's going on today in the country, I don't know how they could have voted for their own governor, so he had to be elected by people that just pressed the button for their own governor, because they've lost so many jobs, and he went for NAFTA, he's going for TPP, he wants, his statement is within the first 100 days, he'll legalize all the illegal aliens, he's for amnesty, he's for everything that's bad for their state. And they elected him. I think he won by 8 or 10 points over Trump. But Trump came in second. So back to Cruz. He comes out and he says, we had a good night. And everybody's looking at him. And he goes, they better not contradict me. And he went on to just lie. He just lied about everything. And to lie and make misrepresentations. And he stands up and says, we beat Donald Trump, we beat him here, and we beat him there, and we beat him there. And in one of the debates, Donald was right there, actually sitting next to him when he said that. We beat Donald Trump, we're the only ones that can beat him. And Donald was allowed to respond because his name was mentioned. And he said, he didn't even look at Ted, he talked to the people. He said, he won us. He said, yes, he won in 5 states. We won him in 12 states. So, I challenge you to see the fundamental dishonesty of a communication like that. So, this is not normal lying. This is, brethren, this kind of lying, the Lord has been preparing me for years, because when I used to hear this kind of lying, I used to get so upset, and that I would start, this was my problem, that God has given me the victory over, like a 95% victory over. When I would get upset, I would be so upset, my communication would be ungodly. I would start yelling or speaking, being very agitated, So the Lord's been dealing with me on this for years, preparing me for this day in time, that I could hear witchcraft and lies like that and not be, that's what I used to be like, I can do it, and be sound in my mind and be able to expose it in a calm voice. I've been in training for this for years. And this is not normal lying. Normal lying is when, how do I say this, Lord? Normal lying is when you try to hide something from somebody. So you went out, you're a teenager, you went out, or you committed adultery, you went out, and you don't want your wife to know you're with another woman, so you say, no, I was someplace else last night, That's a lie, like a normal lie, not necessarily a witchcraft lie, you see. It's a lie that, okay, maybe I can put it to you this way. It's a lie that defends yourself, that if the person you're talking to knew the truth, you'd have a problem in your life. You just cheated on your wife, or you cheated on your husband, so you're lying because you don't want them to know, because you want to keep on doing, and you want your peace with your family also, okay? But the kind of lying that Ted Cruz does, and it's not just him. Carly Fiorina did it, the same exact thing, and of course now she has endorsed Cruz. I've lost all respect for her. Anybody that does this, I want you to know, I lose all respect for you, and I've seen it in the ministry, okay? I lose all respect for you, when you do things like this, okay? And I'm going to elaborate some more. So the lies that have come out of Ted Cruz and Carly Fiorina, with just one sentence with Carly, with Cruz, it's every night, every time there was a primary night, it's the same thing. Every time I hear him speak, it's the same thing. He's not lying to protect himself, that you shouldn't know the truth so that he could continue and having a positive relationship with you. He wants you to continue to be friendly to him. He doesn't want you to know the truth about what you did. No. His lies deliberately misrepresent another person. And that means, listen, his intention is to deceive you, okay? I think I had it. I just lost it. Hold on. The difference is the lie to protect yourself. To protect yourself because you want the person to continue to like you, okay? You want to live in peace in your home if you're a cheat, okay? So you're lying to protect yourself. This kind of lying, okay, makes a fool out of you because it forces you to draw a wrong conclusion. It tells you the truth. It tells you the truth in a way that is not true. In other words, a partial truth. We defeated Trump. We defeated Trump. We're the only one that ever defeated Trump. It's true, Okay, but you defeated him in 5 states and he defeated you in 12. So this lie now is in order to affect your opinion. I'm going to try again. I don't know if I made it. Okay. The first lie is I want you to continue to like me, so I don't want you to know this bad thing that I did. Okay. The lie we're talking about now is designed to trick you into forming a wrong conclusion. It's making a complete fool out of you. You who are seeking, hopefully, honestly, to hear truth from people who have more knowledge than you have, and they're deliberately lying to you with the full intention of causing you to form a wrong conclusion so that you will engage in an action, so that you will use your vote in a manner that you would not use it if you knew the truth. So it's witchcraft, it's mind control, It's manipulation, and you are a thief because your whole intention is to steal that person's vote. So we're talking about the man or the woman that is lying because they committed adultery and they want to continue committing adultery, or maybe as a man, they want to continue in peace with their spouse, whether they continue in the adultery or not. They're lying because they want to continue in peace with their spouse. This man is lying ultimately to control you in a situation which is very important, your vote. He's seeking to steal your freedom from you. Your right, one man, one vote. You have a right to that vote. And he's stealing it from you with lies and manipulation and witchcraft. And his whole, every word in that speech, in any speech I've ever heard him say, lies about Trump. You know? And sometimes he's lying about other things too. We had a good night, you know. 5 states, you won none of them. Trump won 5. Kasich won 1. You're supposed to be congratulating Trump. You're supposed to be congratulating him. Kasich didn't congratulate him either. They hate him. And I saw Donald giving this interview, and he was saying, he was like incredulous. He's saying that they just hate me. He was talking about the news media in this interview. See? Now what I see, or what I saw in that interview, was a man, a multi-billionaire. He's dealt with the mafia. The man has casinos in Atlantic City. I mean, he can't be any jerk. I mean, this guy has dealt with tough men and the mafia and construction. I don't think he did anything dishonest personally, but from what I understand, you have to deal with these kinds of people if you're in construction or if you're in the casinos. You have to deal with them. Yeah. So this guy is no jerk. Trump is no jerk. And he was sitting there saying, they hate me. He said, they never even met me. They never even said hello to me, and they hate me. You know, he was just on the verge, okay? If he would have gone over the line, he would have been in a female spirit, saying, oh, they hate me. But he stopped before he went over the line. He was just incredulous at the kind of hate that was coming against him. And I'm embellishing now. And of all the tough people, the tough and immoral people, the mafia, murderers, pimps, murderers, pimps, thieves. He's met all these people like this. But it was nothing like experiencing the hatred. This is a spiritual hatred that's coming towards him. And I've been dealing with it for years. And I saw Pastor Holtzhausen, who I had no reason to disbelieve him. His whole testimony was that he was a very tough Marine. That when it came to this spiritual warfare, it just knocked the props out from under him. It's the most devastating thing you can experience in your life, that kind of hatred, when people don't even know you. See, that's what he said. I never even met them. So that's the sign that it's a spiritual war. So I have lost all respect for Ted Cruz. I honestly don't know what I would do. I believe Trump is going to get the nomination. I believe that all of these people that are saying that they're trying to stop him, they're having high-level meetings to see what they can do to steal the nomination from him. But I think that at the end of the day, they're going to coalesce behind him because they'll just... see, some of them are willing to lose the election. See? So some of the bigwigs, they're willing to lose the election. Now, that never made sense to me until now I understand it. I've just been so educated. I sent you all a link, I think. I sent you with a lot of information on that link if you had time to listen to it. That you see, all of these men, they have power in the government. If they're on committees, there are these. When you're the chairman of a committee, you're a very, very powerful senator or congressman when you are a chairman of one of the committees. And they hold on to that power or they can hold on to that power even when they lose the election, because it's the majority of your party in the House or in the Senate. In other words, if we were to lose the election and Hillary were to become the president, as long as we maintain a Republican majority in the House and in the Senate, these powerful senators and congressmen that are chairmen of a committee would continue to be the head of the committee. See? So they're more afraid of, if Trump turns out to be a bomb, okay, and he loses, that there could be senators and congressmen running for office that will lose across the board, and will lose the House and will lose the Senate, and they'll lose their chairmanships. So they're willing to give up the presidency if they could just hold on to their chairmanships. And they think 8 years later, so the Republicans will get another shot at it. That's what they think. They don't seem to understand that we're on the doorstep of the crisis of this nation. What happens with this election is going to make us or break us. They don't seem to understand it or believe it. So that's my understanding of these. I mean, I have a lot to tell you, but I'll just go with the spirit, and this seems to be what the Lord wants me to talk about today. So I'm so happy that I understand that, because when I don't understand, when something doesn't seem to make sense to me, it's like a bug in my head. It drives me crazy until I figure it out. So I now understand that their position, see, when they say never Trump, well, or I would vote for Hillary before I would vote for Trump, it doesn't make any sense to me. And I remember when Harry Reid was reelected this last time, there was a Tea Party candidate that, could have won, and Harry Reid, who's been just a nightmare, head of the Senate. There were the local Republicans, and I think, where does Reid come from? Arizona. I don't think it's Utah. Not Utah. Arizona or Nevada, one of those states. Sorry, I didn't get those names straight. That they voted for the Democrat so that this Tea Party candidate would not win. Mm-hmm. And I didn't understand it at the time, but now I understand it. They were afraid if the Tea Party candidate won. However it played out in their mind, I may not be reporting to you exactly the way it works, but the end result, the reason they did what they did was they were protecting their own power and their own chairmanships in the House and the Senate, period. So it's not a juvenile teenager thing, well, you're not a member of my club and I'm not going to vote for you, which is what it sounds like if you don't understand these things. Rather, one thing that the Lord has taught me recently is that it's follow the money. It's all about money. It's all about power, and power is about money. Okay? People don't do things unless you're very young, maybe in high school. But when you start looking at power brokers like this and people that hold sway in this world, it's always about money and power. You know, all of this support for that bill with Iran, that disgusting bill that we signed with Iran. You know, that is jeopardizing the whole Israel and us and the whole Middle East, giving them weapons, is because powerful people that give very heavy donations to our senators and congressmen want to do business with Iran. They wanted that agreement with Iran, which jeopardizes America and Israel and the whole of Europe and the whole Middle East. Iran is an aggressor, right? Because they're going to make millions doing business with Iran. Now, the Lord taught me this a few months ago, but I think it was last summer when the whole issue of this Iran agreement was on the table. And I just saw in the news the other day, guess what? What a shock. British Airways, okay, now has opened up direct service to Iran. See? They want to do business with Iran. It's money, money, money. It's all about the money. So that's if you can't figure something out, you should know it's about the money. Every time something doesn't make sense to you, it's about money and power. That's what it's about. So, but back to the current situation. So Ted Cruz, I have zero respect for this man. Zero respect for him. And Of course, I lost all respect for Rubio when he did what he did to Trump. But, you know, he lost. He killed his own campaign. That destroyed him when he came against Trump in that bad way. That was the end of him. You know? So he made a nice concession speech and all that. But I'll tell you, I spotted Rubio a couple of years ago. I spotted him a couple of years ago. He's very likable. He speaks very well. He's very articulate. But I spotted him years ago when Jan Brewer was challenging President Obama on the border. You know, she was the governor of, I believe, Arizona. Please forgive me if I get my states wrong. She was the governor of Arizona, and the illegal immigrants were pouring over the border, and the state of Arizona passed their own legislation to protect themselves, and Obama's Attorney General, which was Holder at the time, took her to court and said the federal law has authority over you, and we don't want you stopping them on the border. We don't want, whatever the law said, we don't want you doing that. So it was a state's right against the federal government, and I saw Rubio take the wrong side. Brethren, listen, there is a right and there is a wrong about everything. Now, people that don't understand the mind of God, people that don't understand this concept, they would look at me and say, well, Sheila, who do you think you are? That you're the arbiter of right and wrong? Who do you think you are? Well, this is the answer to that question. I think that I am the son of God, a son of God. And I think that the Spirit of God rests on me, and that the mind of God rests on me, and that God teaches me and shares his opinion with me, and that there is a right and wrong, and God is always right, and the mind of man is always wrong. So if you cannot recognize that I may be, and I'm not saying 100% of the time I talk out of the mind of God, but in a situation like this, I'm talking out of the mind of God. Now, if you can't recognize it's the mind of God on me, then you think whatever you want to think. But I know that this is the mind of God on me, see? And I know when I see right and I see wrong, and I see the difference between right and wrong, see? And I knew that he was on the wrong side in that border issue. And this was not, what I'm trying to tell you is that it was not just my human opinion that you are for strong borders and you are not for strong borders, and we fight with each other. It wasn't that. He made an immoral decision, in my opinion, which I believe is the mind of God. He was on the wrong side for political purposes. And I looked at him at the time, and I saw that he was Hispanic, and this may or may not be accurate, but what I'm saying is accurate, is that he was on the wrong side of the border issue. I thought, well, he's Hispanic and he's not willing to risk the wrath of his constituents, so he was on the wrong side of the issue, which that may or may not have been true, but he was on the wrong side of the issue, and I had him checked off from that point forward. I was watching him very carefully. I would not be inclined to vote for him. Why? Because I saw him compromise. Well, you say, Sheila, everybody compromises, and all politicians lie. Yes, but they didn't do it in front of my face. They didn't do it at a time that I could see it. Once I see it, once I hear it coming out of your mouth, now I have an opinion about you. You know? And I will make my choices based upon my opinion about you. And I believe that God shows me things, and he puts things right in front of my eyes. So, and probably the whole Congress and the whole Senate are liars and cheats, but they haven't done it in front of my eyes. See? So he made a concession, and I'm not saying he's a bad person, you know, but I don't trust him politically. So I read an article about him online. I think it was just last night. They're saying, well, he's young. You know, he was the Tea Party candidate that was elected in Florida. He was a Tea Party candidate. And he made all of these promises to the people and went to Washington and did the exact opposite. See? So the article that I read was sympathetic towards him and was saying, well, you know, he was a freshman senator, and he got to Washington, and Chuck Schumer got a hold of him. And And he probably thought he was doing the right thing, but they corrupted him. Because you see, Rubio, he was a part of the Gang of Eight, they call it the Gang of Eight, that tried to push this amnesty bill through the Senate. So how do you say you're a conservative when you're a part of the Gang of Eight? Why do they say a Gang of Eight? Because they try to bully the rest of the Senate and the Congress to push this through. So what kind of conservative are you? So he's very likable. I didn't like what he did to Trump. He made a fool out of himself, in my opinion. But he's very likable. And he seems to have a genuine relationship with God. He was very compassionate when he spoke about abortion. But he would never be my first choice after I saw him compromise like that for a particular constituency. And I was open to Ted Cruz, I was open to Ted Cruz even when I heard that his wife was on the Council of Foreign Relations and a vice president of Goldman Sachs, and that he had very heavy loans from Goldman Sachs. What does that mean? It means when you have ties like this, they come to you and they pressure you. That's what's happening with our Supreme Court. How do you think we have Obamacare? Judge Roberts was pressured. Personally, I think he was blackmailed. 2 times. 2 times he betrayed the American people and brought forth a decision in the Supreme Court that was wrong. Well, Sheila, there you go again, right? It was wrong. Okay, how do I know it was wrong? Because the whole, I don't know that I can explain this. I don't know that I can explain it very well. But the whole idea of Obamacare was that it is not a tax. You see, you cannot tax American people on what they don't want to buy. You can't say, if you don't want to buy it, you're going to have to pay a tax. It's unconstitutional. And it was, the first time it went past the Supreme Court, I think this may be accurate, it was declared that it's not a tax. Obama himself said it's not a tax. So when it went before the Supreme Court, and Judge Roberts looked at the case, it wasn't legal. The only way he could make Obamacare legal was to declare it to be a tax. So this bill that was sold on the premise that it's not a tax, okay, I don't know what they called it, but it was not a tax. They got around it with words. It's not a tax. We know that a tax is unconstitutional. It's not a tax. Justice Roberts got it approved by the Supreme Court by saying it was a tax. So, personally, I think the man was blackmailed. 2 times he was blackmailed. Okay. So the corruption is very high. What else can I tell you? Let me not make general statements. How else can I educate you? So anyway, so Ted Cruz, he's all involved with these people. And so when I started hearing this, it just reinforced my decision that I thought that Trump was God's man. And it made sense to me because I've seen God operate. I am a living example of the way God deals with institutions that have locked him out, like his own church, for example. He took me out, and I'm completely outside of the establishment. I'm completely outside of the establishment. I don't know anybody, any favors, and I won't take a donation from anybody where there's any indication at all that they're going to be putting any kind of claims on me. I'm completely outside of the system. No one has any power over me. You can't take anything away from me that God gave me. So that's a main thing for me, that I see that the Lord picks someone from outside of the system. Very important to me, that this man has no obligations to anybody. So anyway, now, in case there was any doubt in my mind at all, has anybody here heard that somebody wrote a book, I think it's the Oliver Stone, I think it was him, who's calling the Bushes, he's talking about the Bush crime family and the Clinton crime family. And of course, the Bushes going all the way back, Grandpa Bush was a Nazi sympathizer. George H. Bush, there's ample evidence that he was involved in the assassination of John Kennedy. And George W., I think that I worked on George W.'s campaign, brethren. I had to repent of that. Well, I was ignorant. I personally believed that George Bush destroy the American people. Okay, I believe, I do not agree with Rush Limbaugh that he was such a righteous man, that George W., that when the left were lying about him, saying terrible things about him for 8 years, blaspheming his name, that he did not open up once and defend himself. He was such a decent, righteous, upright man that he wouldn't even defend himself. What was the result of the left crucifying him with words and him not saying one word in his own defense? What was the result of that? The American people believed all the lies, and that was the beginning that I saw, from my observation, that was the beginning of the corruption of the American mind. And I think he knew exactly what he was doing. That's my opinion. So Oliver Stone, he calls them the Bush crime family. They have coalesced over to, behind Ted Cruz, you know, major supporter of Ted Cruz. And this is the family that, of course, they were behind Jeb first. You know. So now they're supporting Ted Cruz. I thought he was a conservative. He's claiming to be a conservative. They're not conservative. They say they're conservative, but they're not. So to my mind, now listen, brethren, I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to keep telling it to you. I do not have any personal investment in Donald Trump. I want God's man. If it turns out Trump is bad, he's bad, okay? I can do that. Nobody can fire me, okay? My hundreds of followers could leave my church. You know, I'm okay. I will always have enough money to live on. I will always have food to eat, and I will always have at least some people to preach to, always. So I'm completely rejected by the established church. You know? So anyway, so Ted Cruz, now that he's being funded, they've given him thousands. The Bush crime family has given him thousands of dollars. So they're funding him. And then he tells us that he's going to, this is the problem, that he's going to fight in the Congress against the laws that the Bush family wants. The Bush family wants amnesty. The Bush family wants TPP. These trade, what are they, treaties, these treaties that are stealing the jobs from American people. You know? That's what the Bush crime family wants. He's taking thousands of dollars from them. But I think that his lies and his manipulation and his misrepresentations are unforgivable. I think they're severe witchcraft and mind control and evil, and because it's dishonest. You come out and you tell your workers, you know, we had a good night. And you better not disagree with me. That's a lie. You're telling people to lie. And then he comes out and he holds up the Bible. It makes me squirm in my seat. Because that's why people don't want someone spouting religion in the White House. It scares them. Because a lot of people see the dishonesty in people. If you're, listen, brethren, and this is for me too. If I am ever going to do something in the name of the Lord, I better really be careful about how I live my life. See? Because they're going to come right after you. You know? Now, none of us is perfect. So if someone catches me in a mistake, there's nothing I can do about that. But if you're going to be a preacher, you want to be a prophet of God, you better start living a righteous life, or you're headed for shame, see, because the Lord will bring you down. The Lord will bring you down. And He'll end your ministry, and you'll die young. So that's just disgusting. To cheat in politics and then say that you're God's candidate. You're not God's candidate, Mr. Cruz. Donald Trump, the nominal Christian, goes to church on Christmas and Easter and tries to be a good person. And he's God's candidate, in my humble and educated opinion. You are not his candidate. And I'll tell you the same thing that I've been saying all along. Whatever you have to say bad about Donald Trump, okay? I have not heard him lie about anybody. I wish that he didn't do it. He called people stupid and I wish he wouldn't do that. But at least you know that it's coming from a man with a character flaw. He's not lying about them. I mean, do you believe when he says that they're disgusting? Does that change your opinion about the man? Are you now walking around saying, "Oh, that man is disgusting"? I heard Donald Trump say that. Are you influenced by something like that? Of course not. Everybody's ignoring him. I have not heard one evil word out of his mouth. As a matter of fact, he's so politically naive that it's really amazing, because in his acceptance speech on Super Tuesday, he was talking about all of the negative ads that were purchased against him. He said millions of dollars were spent on negative ads, and he won every state except Ohio. And he said, all lies, they're all lying about me. And then he says, well, most of them are lies. He said, oh, maybe 90% are lies. I mean, what politician stands up there and says there was 10% of it was true? What politician does that? And I heard him do it on something else also. I don't recall at the moment what the other issue was, but it was something similar, that he was admitting fault. Yeah. So, you, Mr. Cruz, are a disgrace to be walking around with that Bible in your hand and making it a part of your of representing who you are. You're a phony and a liar. Yeah. So, is there anything else does anyone have any question for me? Is there anything else that I can tell you about what's going on today?
Do you want to address what people are saying when he came against the rioters, that they should, punch this guy, or I'll pay the lawyer fees for the guy who did that? Or, I think Trump was saying that everybody's coming down on him for that kind of.
Well, it would have been better if he didn't say it, but it would have been better if he didn't say it. I've listened to every one of his speeches. I never heard him tell anybody to punch somebody. And Donald Trump is a lot like June, okay? I've been going through this with June for years, okay? She says things, and I don't think they're God. And then sometimes she says things that aren't of God, but there's a mix, and then she says very profound things that are from God. And because she's a mixture, and sometimes she says things that aren't from God, I have a tendency to ignore her, which I'm trying to change. I have a tendency to ignore her. And then I find out that the Lord spoke to me through her, and I didn't do what I was supposed to do because I didn't believe it was God. See? So Donald Trump, he says things, he's a mixture. He's just a mixture. And he says things that he shouldn't say. But my whole point of this is that he doesn't have the skills to express himself. And it's happened multiple times already, as happens with June, that you would reject what he's saying until you really think about it. And when you find out what he really meant, you find out that there was a profound truth behind what he was saying. And I'll give you an example. When he was saying, he never said anybody, I never heard him tell anybody to hit somebody. But he said once, a protester was in his meeting, and he said, "Oh, I feel like giving that guy, punching him in the mouth." He said, "I feel like punching him in the mouth." He shouldn't have said that, And when he was talking about paying the hospitals, what was behind him? And I didn't understand this until I heard him double down. He would not back down on what he said. This is what's behind it. You still have two relatively young sons, so you should be familiar with this, what's going on in this country, that you're not allowed to defend yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in school, or if you're on the street, or if you're out for the evening in a club, and someone punches you, and you punch them back, when the police come in, they don't care who started it, you're both going to jail. So it's illegal to defend yourself in this country today. Because the mind of the beast is prevailing and is upside down. It wasn't too long ago that I read, and I don't recall what state it was in, but it was in high school, and this football player so the term football player implies a husky guy, walking in the high school, and he sees this student beating up a disabled child in the high school, kicking him, So he went over and he pulled the bully off of the disabled child and beat him up. And who do you think got suspended? The football player got suspended, and the bully that was beating up the disabled child wasn't hurt. So we're living in a very sick environment, and Donald Trump has been called by God to confront every one of these issues, and that's where he was coming from. I believe from things that I heard him say, I believe that's where he was coming from, saying, don't you be afraid to punch back, because we're not under that political correctness. And our meetings are being invaded by bullies, okay, that should be arrested, but they're not. What happened to the guy that tried to attack Trump? I saw the video. Like four FBI agents jumped on him. He was headed right for Donald Trump. And I'm told it's a federal crime, because you tried to get past a federal bodyguard. It's a federal crime. Where is he? He's a hero on CNN. Okay, he's a hero on CNN, speaking about Donald Trump, inciting him to riot. Okay. And then someone in Donald Trump's camp. Now, you shouldn't be hitting people, okay? But this is what happened. They had these what is he calling them? Disturbers. He's not calling them protesters. He's completely against his political correctness. He's calling them disturbers. I don't remember exactly.
Instigators.
Not instigators, but something like that. So they gathered them together, and they were like forcing them out of the meeting. And it was stadium, I guess, like the National Council. They were walking up the steps, so there were men from the meeting on both sides of the steps. And as the guy walked by, a guy that had made a lot of trouble there, okay, this 78-year-old man hauled off and punched him. Now, he shouldn't have done it, okay? So you see this video of these men peacefully walking up the steps after they had been rounded up, after they had been rounded up and stopped from their he called them disruptors, and stopped from doing their disruptive behaviors and were on the way out. He shouldn't have done it. But you have to look at the whole picture, that they were invaded. They have a right to have a public meeting and to hear their man speak. And these people came in with deliberate intentions to steal their right of free speech. And they were being asked to leave. He shouldn't have done it, but you have to look at the whole picture. There is such a thing as guilty with an explanation. So this man has been criminally charged. But the guy that attacked Donald Trump, okay, and God looks at motives, you see. Now you have to pay for the wrongs that you do, but God does look at motives, you see. So the man was guilty, and he's criminally charged. He shouldn't have done it, okay. But you need to look at the motive. He has the consequence, but it was an understandable motive. But he needs to learn to restrain himself. Now, what about the guy that attacked Donald Trump? What was his motive? He told us his motive. I heard his motive. I heard him speak. He thinks that Donald Trump is wrong, and that he's seducing all of these people, these thousands of people in his rally, and it was his intention to take away, to steal, I'm embellishing that, to take away the microphone from Donald Trump and advise all of the thousands of people there that he's a liar and he's no good for the country. So his intention was to violate Donald Trump, to steal his right of free speech, to steal the right of the people that came to listen to him, to disrupt and to possibly cause a riot there. Could have been possible cause of a riot. That was his intention. And he wasn't even charged. And it was Donald Trump's team that went on Facebook and found him with pictures of Uzis, whatever the name of the gun is, guns and burning American flags, and he hasn't been charged. So we're living in a nation with a double standard of justice, and that's very dangerous. We're in a very we're at the, it's 2 minutes to midnight, and the next day Nazism takes over the country, and it's 2 minutes to midnight. We're in a very, very dangerous place. So when Trump says these things, to be honest with you, I don't know for sure whether he knew what he was doing when he said it, or he just says things that he shouldn't say with regard to what he was telling them. If they're swinging at you, you can defend yourself, and I will pay the lawyer's bill if I have to. No, none of this garbage that you're not allowed to defend yourself. You have to stay there and be beaten up while someone else is dialing 911 and you're being pummeled. You have to stand there and take it until the squad car gets there. That's crazy. Okay. So that was what was behind it, and I'm sure that he presented his case very imperfectly. You know. But to say that Donald Trump is responsible for what happened in Chicago is crazy, because the people that amassed in Chicago and caused Trump to shut down his rally, Trump was denied his right of free speech. The people that came to hear him were denied the right of free speech. And the people that did it were not just average, everyday citizens that didn't agree with their fellow Americans. They were paid. Mm-hmm. They were paid disruptors by George Soros's MoveOn.org, which is a communist agitating organization. They were behind they occupied Wall Street movement. They're paid agitators. So how do you say that Donald Trump's rhetoric called them down? You have to be completely denying who the people that comprised the mob were. You have to be in complete denial or lying about it. And in my opinion, the news reporters should know. They should know that it wasn't your little grandmother, okay, that thought that doesn't like what Donald Trump has to say. They were paid agitators. And actually, George Soros took credit for it. He said, yeah, I sent them in. Yeah. And yet, these reporters are still trying to blame it on Trump. Mm-hmm. And that's evil, you see. So, getting back to Ted Cruz for a moment, and Carly Fiorina, so I can't remember exactly what she said, but she did the same thing. So, they're evil on both sides, you see. But I don't see that kind of evil on Donald Trump, you see. I see a spirit of foolishness on him, okay, which is interesting. But I can understand that people can be so mature and developed in an area where they can make that kind of money and be immature in other areas, because it is immaturity to use words they're called fighting words. It doesn't help you, you know. So he has a little immaturity in that area. Okay? But I've never heard him lie about somebody. He doesn't even lie about his own faults. He says he's 10% guilty of the attack ads, you know. So it is evil for these reporters to write articles suggesting that he is responsible, even if it wasn't MoveOn.org, even if it was just your local people that gathered together. He has a right to say what he wants to say. And I never heard him tell anybody, go beat them up. I never heard anything like that, you know. Now, what happened with, I think his, I don't know what the guy's exact title is, but I'll say Chief of Staff, but Sandusky, his name is Sandusky, you know. I didn't hear what happened there, but he was arrested, Sandusky, and he's, so a woman disruptor accused him of laying hands on her. So I don't know what happened, but at Donald Trump's victory speech last Tuesday, he was taking questions of somebody. I don't remember exactly how it played out, but I'll reiterate it for you. One of the big mouth reporters or somebody was saying, you know, how come Sandusky is standing behind you on the platform? He's been charged with manhandling this woman. I mean, that was the intention. Okay, I don't know that that was exactly said. And Trump, in so many words, said, he's standing right here with me and he's not budging. So I don't know what this story was. I don't know what really happened. But I'm believing that if Sandusky did do it, he was provoked. But the feeling that I got is that she wasn't telling the truth, that she was a female agitator and she wasn't telling the truth. You know. So he's standing behind his people. You know. And I think even the guy who shouldn't have, you know, we have no reason to believe. I think that's so funny that it was a 78-year-old man that punched him. I thought that was really very funny. You know. But, I mean, he punched him. It's on camera. He punched him. You know. But I don't have any reason to believe that. And I don't believe that Donald even knew him. He was a man in the crowd. I don't think he was a member of his team. He was just is Donald responsible for a man in the crowd doing that? You know, when Trump is saying, get him out, get him out. Well, yeah, you have to get him out. You have to leave. If you're disrupting, you have to leave. You know, so you're saying, get him out, get him out. So that, you know, so he's responsible if one guy went a little too far, you know. So he's not perfect, I'm telling you, he's not perfect. You know. He's not perfect, and it would be much better if he could express himself and say, and they were really trying to get him, several reporters were trying to get him to say to his people, there shouldn't be any violence here. And he wouldn't do it. And I believe that this is the issue. He will not bow to that political correctness and chastise his people, okay, who have been abused by this political correctness for years now, and who the whole country says you have to stand there and take it and do nothing back, you know. He will not chastise them openly, not publicly. He wouldn't chastise them publicly anyway. And that's where he's coming from. He doubled down. He wouldn't. He's just not. He knows what's going on. He understands it, however he understands it, the two minds. He sees the evil in the positions of power, and he knows that he's been raised up to take them on, and he won't apologize for anything. And in other circumstances, you might say, well, he won't apologize for anything. But it's the wolf demanding that the hen